Hey, kia ora whānau. How's it going? Yeah, Kaitiaki Mara Kai here is the rewai. Just doing another update in relationship to how I finished off my last garden. Our last series, I was talking about planting asparagus over, you can't quite see it, over by the strawberries behind this broccoli. But I remember that when you're planting asparagus, the roots are not necessarily, they like Cody. They can be quite close to the top of the top of the soil, and so when it comes to weeding, you don't want to disrupt it too much, or use a heavy gardening tool to weed around the shoots of the asparagus that's coming up. So I finished my last clip yesterday, digging this trench in here, which is pretty much the traditional way of kind of going about planting asparagus. A number of years back, I think it was 2015, I had stepped down from the full-time army work for about a year, and I went and worked with the Red Cross in the employment program for refugees. And between Levin and Foxton, there's an asparagus farm there, and we used to take some of the guys out there and work, and they had whole paddocks of asparagus, and I thought I'd just plant some here. Now they're a long-term type of vegetable. We do eat a lot of asparagus, but they take actually 2 to 3 seasons to actually come into full harvest. Another guy that I've followed quite regularly is Mark on Self-Sufficient Me. He's an Australian up in Queensland, and on my channel you'll see at the bottom I've got a number of channels that I follow, and he's one of them. And so he's given an example of doing asparagus in regards to raised beds, and I always thought he was growing fennel until I came across that video there of his asparagus. So what I'm doing here is, because of the roots going to be quite close to the surface, I'm going to do the channel, and I'm actually making this bed here where we had the kumara last year. I'm just going to really just do a trial of how the asparagus grows, and in particular if we get shoots coming up this year, I might plant some more along here just to fill it out, because they actually take 2 or 3 seasons before they really coming into their own. So this is going to be a long term, but once they grow, they're perennials and they will grow for 20 years. So you'll have 20 years of growth with this. So yeah, it's a vegetable that if you can get down and you've got time, then you're going to have a harvest. It's just a matter of planting in where the gaps are and so forth. So again, like I did with the seed potatoes, I've got those from might have 10 or might have been Bunnings, one of the two. Now I'm not sponsored by them, as I say, we run this ourselves through charitable donations or gifts, or people that have got supplies and they just drop off to us. So the things that we're doing, we really appreciate those that jump online with us and support us and however they want to. And so we've purchased these, and I've just got this particular type, and in this bag it's 5 tubulas, or it's 5, not technically not sure what they're called, but they look like that. They look like a wheke. And so this is the part that will sit up, and I'm going to finish off there and I'll show you what I'll be doing. And effectively made my channel of putting more lime and manure. I'm going to put some compost in there and make a bit of a maunga, and then this will then just sit over the top of it, and I'll 5 of them, and then just cover it over, and probably put some markers in just to tell them where I've planted these, and just spread out the root system. They will go down, and in time you'll have shoots that'll grow up through. And in the first season, you're pretty much going to let them grow until they flower, and you probably just do that in the second year. So it's a 2 to 3 year. And what you're trying to do is just get them used to the place where they're at. Hopefully it won't get too damp here. There's enough soil in there. And then each year I'll just let the foliage break down, and I'll just cover that over the top, and then just put more soil on, and just feed it. So that's what we're doing here. We're just going to plant these asparagus. I've got 5 here. I'm just going to put it in my little channel on the bottom. So I've already prepped it. I did this yesterday, so I dug it out, spade, put some lime in the bottom, put some sheep pellets, manure pellets in there just for compost and that. And I'm also going to add some more compost made to go down to the shop today and grab some. We ran out last night. So yeah, I'll just keep this running, and you can see it's not going to take too long, so it should be, yeah, if I move it quicker. Alrighty, cool. So you can see here I've filled it up with compost that I've got, just compost, however you want to service your compost, and then built it up to here. So here's the height, pretty much that's the height of the top of the soil. I'm now going to put my asparagus in, and then the materials that I dug up yesterday I'll just put it back on top. one of the other things that you can do with asparagus to check that it's a healthy stock is to cut off the centre the centre shoots or the roots, and you want to have a look at the roots. If you see how it's nice and creamy looking, sometimes if it's a little bit brown, you may have some infection from where they've come from, particularly if so these ones here are nice, see them nicely, those two there, they're cut off and nice and clean, so you can have some root infection or infestation from where they were all grown initially. So that's just a quick way of seeing that the stock's okay. Just have a quick look, cut a bit off, and if they're nice and creamy through, then they should be okay. Now you may find you get stock losses here, but just because of the transplanting and so forth, just like any plant. Once they grow up, and if that's the case, then you just plant others in the gaps that you're making. So yeah. So there we have it, asparagus. So prepped it, dig a channel, put some lime in and some lamb pellets for fertiliser. Then I put some compost in the bottom, and as you saw, I just mounded it, spread out the waiwai or the of the tubulars, and then made sure that the ito was sticking up, and then just packed it in. So it'll come through this year, and I'll just let it grow, and near the end of summertime you actually might, so there's some fennel that's just down the bottom there, it'll grow up, and I'll let it go to flower. And that's really just trying to give time for, because they're perennials, they grow every year, just gives them time to take hold into the soil and mature a bit before we start harvesting. And then after that, after a couple of seasons, we should actually have asparagus here, unless we disturb it, growing for the next 15 to 20 years. So when it shoots up, I'm going to put some more material on, compost on, just like what we do with potatoes and kumara. We mound it up a little bit, and then when it comes to harvesting it, it's just either breaking the stalks off and you up with about the thickness of your little finger type of size, and about the size of your knife, as you get them from the shop. If you let them grow too long, they start to get that woody feel and taste to it. So yeah, this is the first excursion for us in regards to our Mara Kai relationship to asparagus and growing asparagus. But again, it's one of those vegetables, like the strawberries, we should now, because they're an annual kind of fruit or vegetable, it's something that we can actually just keep growing and let it grow and come through. Now, I've got 5 here, and I'm going to mark it. I'll put a marker at the end here and just put a name on it, what it is, asparagus, blah blah blah, and date that I planted it. If there is gaps in there, I'll just dig a hole and put a new one in there, knowing that it's obviously going to take a little while to go through too. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this goes and what it looks like. Yeah, I might be able to try it in a raised garden if you want to have a look at how to do that, and have a look at Mark on self-sufficiently and his asparagus growing in raised beds. And I might even do something like that with a tie, like we've got ties here with garlic, or is that onions? No, those are onions. I think that's garlic. So I might do one there too, somewhere near with raised bed, just with tyres, and see what it looks like doing it that way. Yeah, all right. Hey, thanks a lot. If you like this, please click it. If you want to support us, just there's an account below, and we do appreciate gifts and offerings and donations. It's just to help us buy our resources. I don't really like buying bagged stuff because you've obviously got to deal with the plastic bags. So I've been using some of the bags for other rubbish, chicken poop and storage, and just growing the stuff off from the shed. So I'll use my trays and put them on top. Ideally, we would like to get into a compost system, and that's what I'm hoping to learn from next week when I go down to the thanks. I really appreciate those that are supporting us, and the gifts and donations that come in to help us do this. As I say, we've got other gardens coming up this year in Kaikoui. We were helping out whānau, just getting started for them, and a way of building relationships with the community. This is Rewa Te Kaitiaki Mara Kai garden project, backyard garden project out of Kaikoui Baptist Church. Alright then, ka kite anō.